Welcome to The One Inside, an internal family systems podcast. I'm your host, Tammy Sollenberger. I'm excited that you and all of your parts have taken time to be with me and all of my parts. If you are a coach, a client, a therapist, if you are in business or education, and you're curious about the IFS model, you are in the right place. Now, let's see what happens on today's podcast. Hey everyone, today is a special day. It's Tuesday, and I usually release podcasts on Friday, but today's a special day because it's April 14th, and a year ago on April 14th, I released the first podcast. And so I wanted to honor the One Inside podcast because it's her special day. And it's just super exciting. And so I wanted just to get on here and just acknowledge that and honor that. So I thought it would just take a few minutes and just do a little bit of a check in with you. So, one of the purposes of the One Inside podcast was to make the internal family systems model accessible. I love the model, and I think it's obvious. Obviously, I love it. Otherwise, I wouldn't spend all the time and energy creating these podcasts. And I have a passion for making things accessible to people that might not know about it, or might not hear about it, or might not have the ability to get trained in it or learn about it. Or I also feel really strongly that we, as a mental health professionals, no matter what that is, that we have something to share that can help people feel better and help people live better quality lives and make a difference. And so I feel really passionate about that. And I think IFS is just an incredible, incredible model. And I feel so thankful for all the people that have helped me learn and grow and get to know my parts, and who have helped me connect to self. And I have met some really incredible people and some amazing friends through this whole journey, not just the podcast, but IFS in general. I've definitely met some super amazing people on the podcast, and it's been so much fun. I'm having so much fun. It seems to just tap into like all the things that I love. Like I love connecting with people. I'm super nosy, so I love getting to know people. I love even some of the marketing stuff that I have to do a little bit, and a lot of the behind the scenes stuff of just getting people on and connecting to people and getting guests and getting listeners. Some of the paperwork stuff that has to do with that. And then there are parts of me that love editing, and I'm trying really hard not to be such a perfectionistic. Like I can spend 20 hours editing one podcast, and that's not working. That's not sustainable. So one of the other things is the plan originally was to publish 2 podcasts a month because I need it to be sustainable. I have a full-time private practice. I have a family. I have a little boy and a husband and friends and a life. And so I'm trying really, really hard to spend less time editing and just get it to you. It's hard because a part of me really likes taking out all the little pieces, and I see in the audio, I can see a little something that's not supposed to be there, and I like to take that out. And yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know that I had that side to me because I'm not super perfectionistic, because obviously, if I was, I would have never done this because it's not going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And I had to just get it out there good enough. Like it's good enough, get it out there. Speaking of what I just said about guests and listeners, I think that's been one of my goals is I need to get guests because otherwise it's just me on here talking, and that's not super fun. So I need to make sure I get guests, and those guests have to say yes. So at the beginning, there was a time when I would ask people and they were like, no, I would get no's. And obviously I started asking people that I had made connections with and people that I had met at the conference or friends of mine. So it's really interesting because I don't really get no's anymore, which is awesome. And that makes me feel super happy. But I really needed guests, right? I need guests and then I need people to listen to it. So, parts of me would want more numbers and parts of me would want more interaction on social media and parts of me would be down because I don't know, it's such a weird thing because it's not I don't know how you there's parts of me that aren't sure how to rate success. Like, how do I rate this as a successful thing? And so I kept coming back to success means I have guests and someone's listening, so that's it. Just get guests and listeners. And so I kept coming back to that goal as getting guests and getting listeners. So I just want to thank all my guests because if guests don't say yes, then there's no guests. So I am just so thankful and honored for all the guests that I've had. It's been super fun. And then I want to thank you as listeners because listeners have to tell people and they have to share. And so otherwise, this thing would not have gotten off the ground if you guys were not telling people and sharing. And so I'm just so thankful that the guests said yes and that listeners are telling other people and sharing. It just means the world to me. And I also love that you're connecting with me over social media. So either over on Instagram at IFS Tammy or at the One Inside Facebook page, or even sending me emails. That means the world to me. And it also helps me know what you're looking for. I've gotten a few emails like letting me know that you're looking for certain subjects, even ideas for guests, and I just really appreciate that. That means so much. Over the next 2 weeks, I'm actually going to be giving you 4 episodes. This is one. I'm counting this as one, and you're going to be getting 3 more episodes, basically because of this craziness that we're living in with COVID-19, and and so I really want to, again, a year later, accessible and connection. I want you to have accessible help and I want you to have and feel connection. And so right now, it's hard to have access to a lot of things. And it's hard to connect with people. And so if this podcast is a way to help you feel connected to me and to the IFS community, then awesome. And that's really, really what I love and what I want for you. The other thing is it's making the tenants, can I say it that way? The tenants around IFS accessible. So, what I mean by that is that using parts language and reminding you that you have this self and reminding you, because sometimes I don't know about you guys, but I am so parts driven right now that it's been a little bit hard. And I was talking to, I have another podcast friend, and we were talking, and he said that we were talking about something, and I said something about he's not an IFS guy, he's a marriage therapy guy, and I said something about a parts party, and he thought that was funny because he had never heard that before because he's not an IFS guy, and I thought, yeah, I'm having such a parts party. So, if this podcast can help you and help your parts feel heard and seen and connected and remind you that you have this self, this beautiful essence inside of you that can be there. It's the sun behind the clouds, it's the calm within the storm. It's still here, it's still here inside of you, even if you're in fight, flight, or freeze because of the pandemic, which I know a lot of us are, that there still is this self inside. Part of me is telling me I shouldn't do this because I have not finished this book, but I've just discovered this book that's called Soul Talk by Kirk Byron Jones. And he is a minister. He's an African American minister who is in Massachusetts, but he started a church in New Orleans. So I have a special love for him since I went to school in New Orleans, and I have a special love for that city. And so I love this book, and he's not an IFS guy, but he refers to the soul. He's calling what we would call self, he's calling the soul. And it is amazing how the connection between the two are there. He even talks about sort of getting to know your soul and beginning this soul talk. And he says the three things about the soul that you're talking to the soul is connection, clarity, and confidence. Isn't that funny? So I love that. So I just wanted to read and just end with this part in this book that I just reminded me of self. Yeah, so I'm going to read it to you. He quotes Howard Thurman, and he says, this is a quote by Howard Thurman, "There is something that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide you will ever have. And if you cannot hear it, you will all of your life spend your days on the ends of strings that someone else pulls." What I love about that quote is that sound of the genuine is the sound of self. And spending your days on the ends of strings that someone else pulls, that reminds me of parts that drive our bus. Like, do I want my busy manager parts, who I love, to be driving the bus all the time? No. Do I want my anxiety or my worry or my fear, or depression or sadness or overwhelm or terror to be driving the bus? No. He refers to the soul or to the self as the sound of the genuine. And he talks about writing in his journal. And he wrote this: "How do I help myself listen to the sound of the genuine more? How do I help others to do it? In a flash, I sense that it's something to do with allowing ourselves to be vulnerable to our deepest thoughts, fears, and feelings, being totally open to all that we are, our known and unknown. If we can relax into the totality of our being, all of our sides can have their say without fear of being cascaded. In this free zone of free expression, our sound of the genuine may be detected, cultivated, and trusted more and more." Did you catch it? He says, if we can relax into the totality of our being, all of our sides, those are our parts, all of our parts can have their say without fear, without blame, without shame, just friending them and being with them. We can turn towards our anxious parts. We can turn towards our critic. We can turn towards our terror and our worry. We can say, "Hi, I see you. I'm with you. I'm right here with you." Take care, my friends. Thank you for being here. Thank you for celebrating the One Inside's first birthday with me. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for hanging out today. If you liked this episode, make sure you subscribe. And if you really like this episode, share it with a friend and leave a review. You can follow me on Instagram at IFSTammy and join our community on Facebook at the One Inside Podcast. Talk to you next time.
Today's episode was sponsored by Brighter Vision. What's the point of having a beautiful website if it doesn't attract the clients you want to see? As the worldwide leaders of website design for therapists, Brighter Vision sees this issue happen way too often. A nice-looking website doesn't equate to a successful website. The truth is, your current website might even be turning off potential clients. That's where Brighter Vision comes in. Brighter Vision's team of website designers will create a website that is centered around attracting and retaining your ideal client so that you can have a nice-looking website as well as a successful one. Better yet, Brighter Vision is offering $100 off exclusively for listeners of the One Inside podcast. To take advantage of this offer, simply go to brightervision.com/inside. Again, that's brightervision.com/inside.